Good morning. This is Melanie Dawn, and this is Dawn of Wisdom. Today, I am doing my podcast from home. Very unusual. I normally am out on a walk by now. I've watched the sunrise, and I am either sitting on a bench or I'm walking along the coastline. But last night I didn't sleep very good. Have something heavy on my mind. I feel very anxious. Woke up sick to my stomach. Not sure what it is yet. But when I feel better, I'll get out and walk. And I'll walk until I get in there and find out what's going on with me. It's something. And when I find out, I will share. So today, and what I have been wanting to talk about, because it's been a topic in my life for many years, is the difference between codependency and empathy. Now, I am not a professional. I am a woman who understands both codependency and empathy. I've lived it. I've been this my whole life. Because I've lived with both, I still find myself with the same codependency behavior. So the difference is I am aware. And isn't that the difference in anything, is I am aware. Just like waking up feeling anxious and not sleeping well, something's going on, and I am going to explore it. I can heal my codependency, and I can feel empathy. And this is what I want to stress for everybody today. You must be aware of your codependency tendencies. Number one, and it's practice. You don't just wake up all of a sudden and know it. You have to learn it. It's taken me many years to learn the difference. It has been an awareness that has been a gift. It's been difficult to learn, but I have learned the difference, which I want to share with you guys, and I'm going to try to make it simple to understand. It might be difficult to understand, but once you understand the difference, your behaviors can change. You can have a codependency-free life. Because being codependent can make us feel anxious, controlling, fearful. It can feel uncomfortable. Let's get going. I want to talk about it. Codependency is a lack of authentic self. If you hear page turnings, because I've written some of this stuff down, I normally do it on a whim while I'm walking, but I wrote it down today. Where empathy is a solid sense of self. So let's repeat that. Codependency is a lack of authentic self, where empathy is a solid sense of self. And self is our perception on who we are in the world. It is the source of self-esteem. I think that's very important to understand that. Codependency is an excessive reliance on other people for approval and a sense of identity. Codependency is learned. As children, we want to feel loved, so we learn to be hypervigilant to others. Our focus is placed outside of ourselves to get attention, to feel loved. We surrender to others instead of ourselves. Please re-listen to this. I want to make this easy to understand because it took me years to understand how codependent I really was. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. At the core of codependency is the inability to regulate our emotions. As a child, we learn to fit into our environment. Growing up, we developed habits of looking outside for approval, validation, or a sense of worthiness. We depend on someone else instead of our own vulnerability. With empathy, we understand that people's emotions, their state, and behavior is not something to take personally, to change, or to fix. I've been a fixer my whole life. Empathy allows us to show space. We can be present. Codependency takes you away from your authentic self. With codependency, when someone comes to you needing support, we cannot hold space. Instead, we offer solutions. We go into fixer mode. We cannot tolerate the emotions, the discomfort we ourselves feel within, in our own emotional space. We try to fix others. Guys, this is codependency. Empathy makes us human. It allows us to form bonds and have awareness beyond our perspective. When we learn to hold our own truth and not rely on others to enforce it, we can live an authentic life. We can have boundaries. We can learn to trust our own truth. For healthy, sensitive people who have high levels of empathy, you tend to be affected by the emotional state and the energy around them. As an empath, I need to be careful. My old codependent behaviors often come up. They surface, and I must protect myself. People see codependency as someone who is always taking care of others and ignoring their own needs. It goes much deeper than that. When we are sitting with someone and they are sharing their truth with us, do we give them space to share? Do we allow others to share without trying to fix them? I have been a fixer. I've been a fixer most of my life. Being a fixer for others kept me from fixing myself. It is too painful. It is too vulnerable to go inside and fix myself. It was terrifying. It was terrifying. If you understand what codependency means, you can begin to heal. I was shocked to learn that I was so codependent, but that is exactly what I was. Now, do not get me wrong. Helping others is beautiful. Caring for someone is beautiful. When it is done with empathy, when it feels right, when it feels authentic. Codependency can fill us with anxiety, looking outward for a peace of mind. We fix others instead of ourselves. We avoid our own pain. Through practice, I have learned to change my learned behavior, and it was learned. I have learned empathy. I practice being aware when I want to fix. I know my codependency behaviors. My learned behavior is surfacing, and I recognize it. The more I am aware, the more I can catch it, and I can heal my codependency. I feel a healing, and it feels good. I am authentic to myself. I practice listening instead of fixing. This is hard for me. I've done it my whole life, but I practice. I practice giving others their own space to feel, to express themselves. It's been difficult for me my whole life, but I practice. I practice not taking things personally. This is a practice, guys. I've always taken things personally. In the littlest, slightest thing, I take it like it's personal. No. Very codependent. When you allow someone space to feel, you practice empathy. There you go. There's the difference. Admitting we have a problem that we cannot control is the first step to codependency recovery. Yay. We can stop the madness. We can stop the compulsions to be everyone's friend, lover, caretaker, etc. We can stop always being the fixer. We can learn to stop ignoring our own needs for everyone else. We can learn to rejoice in our own emotional, spiritual, empathetic gifts. We need to learn new behaviors, new ways of being in a relationship. We must practice to trust and love ourselves first. Codependency relies on others for approval and a sense of identity. Codependency keeps us from being authentic. Remember, when we focus on others, we ignore our own self. Empathy, you understand and share the feelings of others without taking it personally. Empathy is allowing space. I want to give you some of my tips, my practices for codependency recovery. Number one, you practice self-care. This is so important. Practicing self-care will help you self-reflect. At first, it might feel like you are being selfish, but remember, learning to know yourself, identifying your fears of being alone is the awareness that you need to be alone. Practicing self-care is the best thing you can do for those you love. We are better people when we explore ourselves. Number 2, practice being alone. I've said it above, but I'll do it again. It's tied into number 1. Learning to be alone and being comfortable alone is healing. We can go inward and heal that inner child, that learned behavior to protect ourselves. Start by being alone for half a day. Go walking, go to dinner, a movie. It's hard to go to a movie right now, but hey, watch a movie alone. It is difficult to go from someone who has to be with someone to someone who is alone. It can feel a little scary. Being alone gives us time to go within. That is the scariest part. Not so much the being alone, but we actually are alone with ourselves. It can give you the freedom to see yourself. When we start to explore our own stuff, we can move through old behaviors and start to heal. Looking inward can be scary, guys, but it can be very exciting. It takes practice. You deserve self-care. 3, setting boundaries. This takes practice too. You have lived with your learning behavior for many, many years. Taking care of others. You have not let go of boundaries in your life. Learn to say no. Big step, but learning to say no is the beginning of you setting boundaries. Say no without a story. Be kind and say no. I have learned to say no. It does not feel mean. It feels authentic. Be gentle with yourself and be gentle with others when you say no. 4, this is the most important part of the healing. Work with your past. Yes, you must do inner child work to heal codependency and to learn empathy. We develop codependency to avoid our authentic self. This practice has been the scariest, most difficult practice for me, but it has been the most healing and rewarding practice. Working with your inner child is the key to healing and loving yourself. We must go inside to heal trauma that kept us from being comfortable with who we are. It is painful, but it is necessary to move forward. We can learn empathy. We can have empathy for our inner child. We must have empathy for ourselves first. When we begin to explore our inner child, to explore our true self, to love, forgive, and embrace our inner child, we can have empathy, which will pour out to others. I want to recommend a podcast. This podcast gives you guidance on working with your inner child, and it has saved me in a lot of ways. It's called The Adult Chair with Michelle Chalfant. Wonderful podcast. She also has YouTube channels and meditations. It's all about doing inner child work. It's beautiful. Start to heal your inner child. This is where it all starts. We must get to know why. Why we have behaviors that take us from being our authentic self. My desire is that my podcast has helped you. Please leave me a review. You can contact me on Instagram at Nurse Mellow. That's one word, 2 L's. I want to leave you with one of my favorite mantras. Lie down on a mat. Pin it to a mirror. Create your own mantra. Whatever you need to do to make you feel authentic. And this is mine. I deserve all that is good. I radiate confidence, self-respect, and inner harmony. I love being myself and love feeling good. I love having space, and I love giving space to others. I am authentic. I love it. Remember, we cannot become what we want by remaining what we are. Happiness starts with you. We all want to feel love. We must practice loving ourselves first, then the love is powerful. It starts with you. You have the beautiful power to embrace your authentic self. Have an awesome week.